effect on their stuff.
Chart looks good.
Checking with you next week.
Sounds great. Nice talking to you. Have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend, too.
Thanks.
On open decks, in cozy lounges, and off romantic private balconies, there lives a beautiful princess. Day and night she tempts you with 24-hour dining, non-stop entertainment, and moments you will treasure. This is Grand Class Cruising. The freedom to do what you want, when you want. Only from Princess.
Here's your local forecast on the Weather Channel.
There's precipitation in New England this evening, showers in the Great Lakes, and more wind, rain, and mountain snow in the northwest. Good evening and welcome to Weather Center, sponsored by Royal Caribbean. I'm Jill Brown.
And I'm Dan Atkinson. We'll have all the nation's weather, plus your forecast for tomorrow in just a moment. But first, let's look at the Northeast. What a way to start your day. In Worcester, Massachusetts, ice-covered streets and sidewalks alike, making any kind of travel a bit treacherous. Many of you opted to take it slow. This should not be a problem during tonight, since temperatures rose above freezing during the day. And even now in Worcester and other points across southern New England, you are getting still plenty of rain. It is widespread, light to moderate rain, occasionally heavy, as you've had around Bridgeport during the past hour. And the rain will continue to slow you down as you travel along the Massachusetts Turnpike, as well as Interstate 95, the inner and outer loops around Boston. Long Island pretty wet, although there is a bit of a break there for a short time. But visibility is low, even in areas where you are out of the showers. It's down to about a half-mile visibility around JFK as well as Newark, so factor that in if you're going to be on the roads this evening. Precipitation is continuing to make its way on toward the north-northeast as low pressure tracks on across New England. Much improved conditions over what you had this morning when this moisture first began arriving over areas where there was some Arctic air still in place in some of those valley areas, in particular the Connecticut River Valley. But as the day has warmed, of course, the freezing rain has turned to rain. Still a little bit of snow around, and that is falling over northern portions of Maine, where in fact Caribou is reporting heavy snow right now, and visibility down to a quarter of a mile. Moderate snow falling at Holton and at Bangor. And you get into a sleet and snow mix at Augusta, Maine. But otherwise, we're looking at generally rain sweeping on toward the north and northeast. And as a consequence of that, much better travel conditions for you overnight. Notice the precipitation diminishing across the state of Michigan as it sweeps on toward the east. Actually, a lot of that is probably just getting beyond the scope of the radar now that I think about it. But you've had some rain over lower portions of Michigan and even some snow or during the day around Traverse City before it has swept on eastward with a cold front pushing through. Not an Arctic front, but a Pacific front, and Jill has more about that coming up. But let's take a look at what the weather has been like during the day around Chicago, where walking around downtown near the water tower was far from pleasant today. Many of you were, as you see, armed with your umbrellas when light rain passed through the area earlier today. It is chilly and windy in Chicago, making it a raw day. There have been gusts near 30 miles per hour during the afternoon. Well, as that gusty front has come on through, it also stretches right down into Tennessee, and it has produced a few sprinkles east of Nashville, heading on out along 40, but generally it's a dry front as it moves across the southeast. It's pushing on across the Great Lakes, and out ahead of it, if you're going to be traveling through these evening hours, watch for the morning commute, that is, as we focus on the Wednesday morning commute. It could primarily be wet and maybe even icy for you in places in Maine. Elsewhere, much improved conditions across New England, but along I-95, along the northern terminus tomorrow morning, could be in for some icy conditions, perhaps some freezing rain, snow in the northern portions of the state, and rain down east. And the potential exists for some flooding, with not so much heavy rainfall having resulted in that, but ice-induced flooding around western portions of Massachusetts and the Berkshires, northwestern Connecticut, as well as interior portions of southeastern New York State. 40 degrees now in Boston, 53 in New York City. You're in the 50s in Atlanta, 52, 64 in Panama City, 73 in Miami, and 54 degrees now in Dallas-Fort Worth. Dry weather across most of the southeast today, with this cold front coming along, not running into much available moisture. A few sprinkles around Nashville as well as around New Orleans. Scattered showers a bit more numerous around Florida today, where you've had at times during the early afternoon even some heavy rain around Orlando. But for the most part, it's been sprinkles around Cocoa Beach and Vero Beach most recently, and they're sweeping in from the Gulf of Mexico, heading on toward the east. Let's check out what's happening over the Midwest and the western parts of the country. Here's Jill.
Okay, thanks, Dan. A strong Pacific storm is pelting areas of the west today with heavy rain, hurricane-force winds, and big snow. And that's reminding folks that winter is far from over here. You needed to brace yourself against the wind in Seattle. While you're getting a few breaks from the wet weather, you are enduring wind gusts up to 45 miles an hour. That made walking to work quite a battle. Some of you are seeing cracks in the clouds, but there are still a few scattered showers in the region as well. So don't let that umbrella get too far from your hand. As a matter of fact, you'll need it for the next several days to come. What else is new? Probably get up in the morning and just put the slicker on without even looking. Recently, we just haven't had any breaks in this weather. And even with this storm making its way farther inland, you can see the next batch of clouds here with very little break in between. So the next several days, it is more of the same. More rain coming your way. Strong winds, especially along the coast and at higher elevations. We've had that today. As a matter of fact, in Grant County in central Washington, we had reports of numerous trees down and roof damage because of the high winds. And we've had reports of winds gusting to 60 or 70 miles per hour. A lot of those reports, so they're not sporadic, and they're not just along the coast today. Very strong winds may be the biggest problem this evening as the rain is beginning to wind down. You can
I think they're just as good.